Good morning. Good morning. Dadgum, what a group. My name is Chris Bramer. I'm very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and dadgum, really, what a group. I, I've known some of y'all on here forever, and just a little overwhelmed. I didn't think that there'd be this many folks out there that I knew, and I'm one of these guys. I got to tell you, you know, and some of y'all have heard me talk about this before. I mean, I remember when we got the fourth edition out and they started talking about modem to modem stuff. And I mean, literally, I mean, we had arguments in the meetings, but we're gonna go burn New York down. This is stupid. You can't have meetings like this. And who knew? I mean, in their wisdom, what was coming down the pike. Thank God for Zooms and we'd have been in trouble. I never saw so many double digit sobriety folks relapse than I did during COVID stuff. These are folks that refused to get on Zooms and they couldn't go to their meetings anymore because they shut them down. And especially here in Texas, they wouldn't allow us to meet. And there's a lot of people just alone by themselves sitting in the house watching TV, and they got crazy. And no little new alcoholics to work with, and I don't know. That's the deal. So, as always, anytime I do this, I'm watching the clock closer than you smokers. So well, I don't need to worry about that. God, you guys, since we're on Zoom, everybody can smoke. Just light them up. That's okay. I got I'm going to share my experience. My experience is my experience, and that's all I can share. And it may be different than your experience. And so I'm coming from a little perspective. I struggled so hard to get sober. And I mean, God, I went to my first AA meeting in the early 80s, and I didn't get sober till November 13th, 1987. And I'll talk a little bit about it. But I mean, I'm going to meetings. I'm a meeting making fool, but I can't stay sober. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but anyway. And I also need to tell you, because a lot of y'all know I've done clerical work in a treatment center forever, and for most of my 37 years. And I get to see a different little perspective of so many people coming into treatment, coming back into this treatment, and God bless them, and you talk to them for a few minutes, and they had the same story I did. If I heard this one time, I've heard it 1,000 times, more than that. I tried AA, it didn't work. Yeah. And you talk to them for a few minutes and find out they didn't try jack. All they did was go to a bunch of meetings. And there's not one place in this book that says if you go to a bunch of meetings, you'll stay sober. So, so I can get a little soapboxy about it. I'm just saying, and I don't think there's anybody out there intentionally trying to hurt anybody, but there's a lot of people just pulling stuff out of their butts that's not in the literature that, could possibly hurt some folks. So anyway, I don't want to be one of those guys. So y'all help me stay on track, and God bless you. I'm still overwhelmed with seeing some of you guys. I hadn't seen Peter Mission since I was in France, and that was a long time ago. Anyway, I got a Myers. Y'all know Myers. He's the ugly one. Let's see, where is he? I can't see him now. Yeah, no, but he's definitely the evil twin. He's my older brother, and I don't know, 3 minutes, I think. You can tell, but look at that nasty beard. And he he's cooking this afternoon. I better be nice. So we're fortunate. 3 or 4 years ago, he moved back down to the hill country with us full time, and so he's a home group member, and we get to see him often. But we were raised out in Odessa, Texas, which is out in the oil field. My father was a printer and a bookbinder. Guys, I just got to say, he was one of the kindest, gentlest man you'd ever come across. And he was a real alcoholic. And my mom was a professional artist. And anybody that see my artwork would be just flabbergasted that I came from that gene pool. She was spectacular. And raised on the front row of the Baptist church every time the door opened up. And there was no goofy stuff going on. And I feel like it's important for me to say that, guys. And I'm not taking a shot at anybody, but you listen to some of the speakers and like they were raised by a pack of wolves and lived on the street all their life. And that's why they're alcoholics. That's not, guys, I had a perfect upbringing and I'm an alcoholic. So just, I can send you some literature books to read if you want to look at some uh, genetics, guys, plays a huge part in this. And you can look at my family tree on both sides and give it a good kick, and little alcoholics drop out like pecans on a windy day. It's just they're everywhere, and but Pops, excuse me, step in the air. Pops moved us to the hill country up in Kerrville, which is about 60 miles northwest of San Antonio, Texas. And when we fly out someplace, guys, we're flying out of San Antonio, and great little town, little recovery community down here. We've got a bunch of treatment centers in the area, retirement community. I mean, it's idyllic. I wish I could turn the computer around so you can see. I can see the Guadalupe River right in front of me, and that's what I mean. We were raised in a beautiful environment, and I remember we my little sister and us, we were all here, and I ended up, we were going to high school. I guess it was January 17th. It's when Bill passed away. It's January 1971 when Bill Wilson, our co-founder, passed away. I took my first drink of alcohol. And I leaned up against one of them big old 700-year-old cypress trees down there on the Guadalupe, and had a friend that had brought a bottle, just a little, bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine. And all you old hippies are laughing. Yeah, okay. Some of the little youngins, next time you relapse, go get you some of that stuff. It's terrible. Don't do it. Don't do it. I I drank the bottle, and he didn't want any more of it. And I made sure that he understood that I was going to finish it. And I drank that bottle down there sitting on the bank, and got my flashlight and headed on back up to the house. And we were about I don't know, quarter mile from the house, and walked back up. And I mean, guys, I'm just big old grin on my face. And I just, all of a sudden, I knew what my dad drank. I didn't get drunk and rob a liquor store or do any crazy shit. I just felt comfortable in my skin for the first time. I don't care who you listen to. If they're real alcoholics, they'll tell that story. Just alcohol does for me what I can't do for myself. And I was the most nervous little cuss you ever come across. And little, skinny, one-eye guy. I mean, I don't know. It saved my life. I'm glad I had it early. I mean, what can I say? And I was functioning for a long time. I was in the food business. I was a busboy at a big hotel there in Kerrville, and I'd been a busboy since I was 16 years old, I guess. And I wanted to be one of the cooks in the back because they were drinking back there, and there were some girls back there, and I figured, what the heck, maybe this could turn out to be a good thing, and it did. I got a job cooking, and then whites, the big old white. I mean, I was a stud, and left Kerrville after a few years. Myers and I, we were laughing about it the other day. We got a Volkswagen Beetle he bought in college. He went to university for a couple of a year, I guess, and came home and had this Volkswagen Beetle with a bumper sticker on the back that said, "Get drunk and be somebody." We're not even old enough to buy booze in Texas. We can't even buy a beer at the time. And we drove to Houston, and I had two or three 10 or 15 roommates. I don't know, little raggedy apartment with beanbag chairs and a little stereo. I mean, it was we were good. And I started jumping around, guys. Everybody in the food business knows if you just finally kind of think you don't want to work someplace, just go ahead and quit, because you can have a job and in 2 hours you'll be working someplace else. Everybody wants you to work. And I don't know. I stayed in Houston for a couple of years, and Myers and I it's a match made in heaven. I work in the restaurants and Myers works in the bar. So, I mean, he ate well, and and I drank well. That's the way it worked. And I left Houston after a while and went to Austin, Texas, borrowed some money from my mom, and she think I was drinking a little bit too much. And she said, "Where are you going to go?" And I said, "Well, Austin." I mean, yeah, who knew they drank in Austin, Texas? That guys, and that's back when Austin really was weird. I mean, what a beautiful place. And I got a job at a country club out there and was drinking and just holding it together pretty good. But it's starting to cause me a little problem with the alcohol. I have a tendency to overshoot the mark sometimes. Maybe some of y'all can identify with that. And God, got a job offer over in Atlanta, Georgia, at one of the first Omni International hotels, and headed over there and was there for a year. I couldn't stay a whole year because they don't sell alcohol on Sundays back then. I don't know if they still do or not, but that is alcohol abuse right there. I mean, that's just nuts. No. I mean, it was tough business, guys. If you forgot to buy booze on Saturday and you had to sit there and rock back and forth all day Sunday before you could get any booze, and and I didn't like pot. I, good heavens, I don't know how you guys, you pot smokers, yeah, there's just horny and paranoid are not fun for me. I'm just saying, I'm not being critical. Standing there naked in the closet, rocking back and forth. It's not, it's terrible. Beer, alcohol, that's the deal. Maybe a little go fast later on, but anyway, I moved back to Texas and went. I could just do this all day long, guys. I had 34 jobs. I never got fired. Well, I got fired from one job. Dairy Queen fired me, but other than that, I'd never get fired from a job. And but I quit gazillions of them, and I'm moving all over Texas. And you know, one of my trips, I went back to Houston, Texas. I loved Houston, still do, and went back to Houston and I was working at a barbecue restaurant there. And me and a couple of the guys owned it, and part owner, and I married this little girl that was that Myers knew, and you know how that worked. She was a sweetheart, and I drug her up to North Texas. Myers had since left Houston and gone up to Dallas to be closer to my father. Dad was teaching him how to be a world famous bookbinder, and he did. And I was going to go up there just to be closer. We're pretty sick, and guys, it was perfect. I mean, I got a job at a country club. We bought a little house, and I told you how much interest rate I paid. Geez, I think it was like 13% interest rate back then. Just like gee whiz, and it was a perfect deal. I mean, in Texas, that's what it is: the Holy Trinity: job, girl, pickup truck. Score. I mean, you don't get no better than that. And we're doing pretty good. She's working, I'm working a bunch, but I come home one night. I'm working with a chef over there, and he's got this stuff. I forget what you call it. What is it called? Cocaine. Yeah. And I'm just going to mention it. I know this is AA, but guy, this is back in the early 80s. Everybody in the world was doing cocaine. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Okay, people that weren't addicted were doing cocaine. Your grandmother was doing cocaine. I'm just saying. They might not cop to it, but they were. Miami Vice was out there. Everybody. Okay, so I've been at work with this guy, and we'd done a little cocaine. We'd done a little. We've been drinking all morning, and I came home, and I don't remember what the fight was about. Still don't. Had a little pushing match with her, and I come from a family. Again, we don't do pushing matches. She asked me to leave, and I did. I came back a few hours later. She let me back in the house, and we had the talk. And basically, it was I didn't talk. She said basically she didn't know about the other stuff, and she knew I was drinking. She didn't know how much, and she looked me in the face with tears in her eyes, and she said, if you want to stay married to me, you're going to have to stop all of this. And I looked her back in the face with tears in my eyes and told her I would never touch another drop. And I meant it with every fiber in my body, folks. I could have passed a lie detector test. There was no shady, I'll get someone. No, I'm done. She was a sweetheart. There was no reason for me to continue. Wasn't enjoying it anymore anyway. You remember when you first started drinking, guys, you were like, you could take a drink, you guys, and all of a sudden you become John Travolta, you know? And now I'm taking a drink and just become sloppy. You know, that's just, it wasn't fun at all. And at least it was, the window was pretty narrow there. And I stopped drinking, went to my first AA meeting the next day up in a local town and up in North Texas. And I just, you know, it was okay. And a week and a half later, the boss asked me if I wanted to stay after and go over the function sheets for the next week. And I said, yeah. And he handed me a beer and I drank it. And that's all. I'm patting myself on the back because I didn't get drunk. And see, my deal with her was I wasn't going to take another drink. And I walked in the house and she smelled it, and that was it. She started making preparations to move back to Houston. And she should have, because I had 7 more years playing that game. I I kept going to AA, guys. And because I watched my father go to Alcoholics Anonymous for a period of time, and I know that things were nicer around the house for a while, and he never, he didn't stay sober, but I knew what the deal was. I knew where to go, and I knew there were people staying sober. So I'd go to these meetings and go in there and pick up another desire chip, and I'm so frustrated because they're gonna. Uh, I hesitate to even say this, but you know, I pick up another desire chip, and then they're going to go around the room and they're going to tell me your scary goddamn stories. Let's tell Chris how we got here. Guys, I know how you got here. You drank. Okay, can we move on? Is there anything else that we could, when Bill's talking about tell our story, it also includes like getting sober. We've got this idea. The Christians use the word discernment, and which I love that word. Discernment. It's like sometimes I think our story is important. If I'm going to sit down and talk to somebody about recovery, I need to tell them a little bit about my story. Okay? And then I need to tell them how to get well, to help them see the solution. But if I'm just trying to scare them into recovery, how many times did I hear somebody say this? You don't want to end up like me, do you? Guys, I'd die. I'd shoot myself before I would ever end up being a loser like you. I can't relate to this scary stuff. And just stop. You're not going to scare any alcoholic into recovery. I crawled in a dumpster in Houston, Texas one time. I just paid my rent in my little apartment. I didn't have any money. I was a little short. And a friend of mine worked at a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I knew where this dumpster was. And I crawled in there one night to get some food because I didn't have any. Now, guys, I'm not living on the street. I just crawled in this dumpster. I fought a cat for my dinner, and I still don't like the little furry bastards. But anyway, I got it. Okay. And I've shared it from the podium before. I've never had one person ever, all over the world, any place that I've ever spoken, I've never had one person email me, text me, call me, anything, and say, Chris, I remember you eating out of a dumpster in Houston, Texas, and I stopped drinking. Ever. I've had thousands of you call me and talk to me about some of the stuff I'm fixing to talk about. Uh, I I guess working for my brother. Thank God for family. Myers hired me to work in the bindery to do little jobs over there. And I mean, I'm so grateful. I couldn't cook anymore, folks. I'm a mess. I'm drinking, and I'm just physically I'm in kind of bad shape, and I'm not just. Of course, I'm blaming it on the business. I got therapists and a psychiatrist up in North Texas. They go, Chris, you can't stay sober. You're in the food business. You're surrounded by alcohol. The triggers. That's quit. There's no such thing. I'll argue with anybody. Okay, come on, guys. Trigger was a horse. He's dead. Let's move on. Those old timers that finally got hold of me, guys, said, Chris, if there's anything left to drink over, you're going to drink over anything. That's the thing. How free do you want to be? God, I mean, those old guys used to say it. God, if you can't be around alcohol, you haven't recovered yet. Simple. I've known people that have owned liquor stores and worked in bars, and I mean, it's not a problem if the obsession has been removed. Anyway, mine certainly hadn't, and I'm sitting there. Thank God for Myers, he hired me, and I'm working in the bindery. I was blessed to get a chance to do that. And I'm not saying that just because he's here. I don't know. I look back, I don't know where I would have been had that not happened. But I remember coming home one night and I picked up a stack of return checks in the mail. Y'all remember back in the day when if you bounced a check, they would put it in its own special envelope. So if you bounced 8 checks, they would send you 8 envelopes. It seemed quite wasteful to me, but anyway. And then you got to ceremoniously open it. Please don't be the rent check. Please don't be the rent check. Oh, the rent check. Darn. And I'm going to have to go to Londa, Myers' wife, and I'm going to have to borrow some money and cover my bills. I'm just terrible at finances. Anyway, I was done. I'm on 7 prescription medications a day. Literally, guys, I've got a psychiatrist. I'm in IOP. I'm doing everything. I'm going to meetings, 90 meetings, 90. I can't put together the 30-day chip. stacked them old checks on the counter and fed the little ferrets, and went and took couple of bottles of pills I had in the medicine cabinet, and tried to off myself. I was just is terrible. I laid down that bed and heard this voice that said, "Don't do this. Go back to AA." And I'm arguing with the voice as I don't want. I've tried AA. It doesn't work. Don't do this. Go back to AA. And so I got up. I made myself sick, and I threw up and laid back down. Thank God I didn't die. And the next morning, I got up with a commitment that I'm going to go back to AA. Had to work late that day. I think God was all over that, because if I could have got off early, I'd have gone back to the old meetings I'd been going to, and I'd have kept getting what I was getting, which was some middle of the road solution. And because I was running late, somebody had showed me an AA at this other meeting, said that's a big book meeting over there. And I went over there, and I didn't know what a big book meeting was. I didn't own a big book. I knew what it was, but I didn't have one. And I said, I want to go there. And it's closer to my house anyway. So I pulled in the back because I didn't want anybody to know I was coming back to AA. And oh, my mom used to laugh about it. She said, "Oh, I think I really screwed up." Says, "Chris, I'm sorry. I didn't know about the anonymity thing." I said, I had you on the prayer list of every church in North Texas. Everybody. All you had to do was look at my pickup truck and know that I was an alcoholic. Oh, busted up, leaning on one side. One of the windows was knocked out. And I was like, oh, God. No AC. It's just, yeah, I parked in the back, walked in the back door. I can't not tell it. I got in about, I don't know, 5 feet, got real self-conscious. Everybody's laughing, which is a pretty good indication, folks. If you walk into a meeting, I don't care if it's on a Zoom or in person, and you don't hear a bunch of laughter, you're probably in the wrong meeting. I'm used to walking in, there's six or seven grumpy old bastards sitting in the corner, no smile, just smoking. It's like, oh boy, you feeling the AA love now? No. Anyway, but I got real self-conscious, and the chairperson saw me. He knew me up from North Texas, and he said, "Chris, come sit up here with me." And I don't know, guys, I'm shy is by nature anyway, and all that attention. I just, guys, I got to go. I just want to let y'all know I'm coming back to AA, so y'all can relax now. And I started took a step back and stepped on this little girl's foot. She had her finger in my belt loop, and she'd come up on my blind side, guys. If she'd have come up on this side, I'd have dodged her. If she came up on my blind, I didn't see her. She grabbed me and said, "Sit down, cowboy. You're not going anywhere." She set me down in a chair. Her sponsor guy was across the way, couldn't get to me, and she said, "Get him." And she did. She was, I don't know, a year sober maybe. Got me a cup of coffee and some paper towels to clean up. I was shaking. I was detoxing in that meeting. And guys, but I got to tell you, they're laughing. And they went around the room, and that chairperson looked up and says, "I know what's coming." I said, "God, I can't believe I'm going to do this again." He says, "We're going to go around the room and everybody's going to tell their story." And okay, 400 one-liners, and okay. And they didn't. Chairperson looked at me, looked at the steps, and he said, "Why don't we tell Chris how our lives have changed as a result of working the steps?" Oh, okay. And that lady across the table, and she held up a set of car keys, and she just got her brand new car. Excuse me, she was sober about a year and a half, I think. And the guy next to her started a little landscape business, and he was making a little money now and paying his bills. And the lady at the end of the table had gone back to, I never forget it. She had a sketch pad, and she was sketching some drawings. She'd gone back to art school and got her degree. She was older than I was 35. She was in her 40s. And she's doing life. The kid next to me kept tapping me on the shoulder, and I looked over, and they had a billfold and had some little Polaroid pictures of his kids. He'd come to AA and met a little AA girl, and they'd made some little AA babies, and and he was all excited about just. And I'm less than 24 hours away from a suicide attempt, folks. They asked me at the end of the meeting if I wanted a desire chip. And I picked up, I didn't anymore think it was going to be my last one in the Man in the Moon. It's in the closet right behind me. So yeah. And on the way out, I took my cup and threw it in the trash, and I'm walking out the door, and these two old cowboys got in front of me. And they stood up and said, Chris, why don't you sit with us for a few minutes and man, let's see if we can help you figure out why you can't stay sober. And I said, did you not hear me say earlier that I had a psychiatrist? And then I have all these professionals trying to help me, and these old cowboy, you should have seen this guy, folks. He's been dead forever. And just, God bless his heart. Cowboy hat, big old white snap buttons, just little bolo on, Cadillac in the parking lot with bullhorns on the front. It's like, this was as Texan as you could get. His name was JR. Y'all think I'm making that shit up? Yeah. They sat there with me and the other old boy, and he's just just a great guy. And they sat down and I said, guys, I can't stay very long. I'm detoxing. He said, yeah, you are. And we'll help you do that. And go get you some Gatorade and you're going to be okay. But they sat down and they opened the big book. They asked me if I had one, and I did, and they got me one. And they opened the big book and they showed me some page numbers. Exactly what I do with my newcomers, guys. I don't start at the title page and read, but I mean, early on, I love studying the book. We've been doing it forever. But I mean, early on, guys, it's like triage. We got to stop the bleeding, and I send I'll put my little email in the chat. You guys can email me and I'll send it to you. But it's just a little quick first step. It's just some questions to ask and try to help them see. They asked me about the physical craving and the mental obsession. What the heck, guys, for the first time, 7 years in AA, I called myself an alcoholic. I didn't even believe it that a man in the moon, because I can't relate to your stories. I'm not doing all the crazy shit you're doing. I've never missed a day's worth of work ever. I've been drunk, but I've never missed. But they showed me the symptoms and I realized it was me. I'll never forget that drive home that night, and I'm looking myself in the rearview mirror. I got tears on my cheeks. Literally, I cry a lot still, and I'm sitting there thinking, God dang, I'm an alcoholic. Those guys saved my life. They should have been home with dinner with their wives, but they stayed with me instead for 30 minutes just to make sure guys, I have a vivid memory. Funny, the things that we remember. But must have been somewhere in the early 80s. I'm going to meetings. Like I said, I'm trying to go every day, and I'm sitting in this parking lot afterwards. After the meeting, we walked out of the front porch, and there's a bunch of people talking, and a few of them were talking about, where are you going to go to dinner? Where are you going to do this? And I'm just standing there by myself, and they're not talking to me. And I picked up a desired chip, but ain't nobody saying jack. And pretty soon the porch is empty. Everybody's gone, and I look out and the last car is leaving the parking lot. And I walk out, kind of lean on my truck a little bit, and just sitting there. I don't want to go home because I know what I'm going to do. I'm just sitting there, and pretty soon some little guy comes out of the building, and there's a big switch box on the back, and he turns that switch box off, and all the lights in the parking lot go out. And there I am, one more time, alone, sitting in the parking lot by myself. And I get in my old beat up truck and drive down a few blocks and pull into a little minute market and buy me a 6-pack of beer and go home. Can't tell you how many times I've done that. Myers is a big one. He kept pointing it out. I forget exactly what it is. I think it's like 27 times the big book uses the word approach. Just exactly what those two old cowboys did with me. My first meeting at that group, they approached me and helped see if I needed any help. God, guys, God. I tell you, I went home that night with some hope in my heart that this could be different. The next morning, we went to a 10 o'clock meeting at that same group, and after the meeting, we got the Al-Anon ladies out of the back room for a minute, and there was 3 of us, and we got on our knees and did a little 3rd step prayer. They explained it real quick. No biggie. I didn't have a problem with any of that. And they said, come on, we'll take you to eat some Mexican food. They took me to a little restaurant down there. We ate, and they came back and they gave me a notebook. Said, Chris, go home and start working on this 4th step. Start making a list of people, institutions, and principles that you're pissed at. Okay. I've been around 7 years, guys, and nobody had showed me jack. And all of a sudden, these guys are banging me through the work. Say, Chris, if you work these steps quick with us, you're going to have a spiritual experience, and that obsession is going to go away. Isn't that what you want? I said, yes, sir. It is. I said, we'll see you tonight. And I came back, went to that meeting at 6 o'clock. There was none of this 90 meetings in 90 days stuff. It just says, Chris, come to as many meetings as you can go to. And I did. 2 weeks later, I've got a completed 4-step. I'm waiting for my sponsor, who they picked for me, to get back in town. And so I could do a 5th step. And I'm sitting on the tailgate of my truck after a meeting, and with a big shitty grin on my face. I got, guys, I'm surrounded. There's liquor all around me. There's a little minute market. There's a liquor store I got a tab in. A little dealer lives in an apartment complex. I mean, it's Friday. I just got paid. And I'm sitting there looking around and says, I don't want to use. I'm done. Went in the house and cranked up some hot jazz, and I don't know, washed the dishes and fed the ferrets, and just had a beautiful evening. Yeah. Welcome to heaven, folks. That's what freedom looks like. It's like a closely guarded secret. It's like everybody's afraid to tell the newcomer, it seems, that they can get well. They told me straight, point blank, you can recover from alcoholism. It made my face light up when I'm sitting there here listening as much of you introduce yourself as recovered alcoholics. Thank you. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Man, if we can't share anything with a newcomer, at least let's share some hope with them. Because I got to tell you, in treatment, in some of these places, some of the places that I get to speak, it's scary. The message that folks are getting. Every day is a struggle. You could relapse every day. It's just, I'm sorry. That's just not true. Why don't you stick to the book and give somebody a clear message? I got to tell you real quick. I was in there about 3 weeks, and those two, one of the guys that had 12-stepped me that night and helped me, came up and he said, Chris, next Wednesday is our group conscience. Would you come? And because we want to maybe nominate you for chairman of the cleanup committee. Because I'm in the food business. Y'all follow? I mean, I know how to clean a kitchen, and they know that they were trying to do, and I appreciate that. I said, listen, guys, I'm not really interested. Remember me? I got my chip in my pocket, held it up in front of their face. I'm the most important person here, remember? Just enough information to be dangerous, So yeah, you are. And we appreciate that. Come to the group conscience anyway, because we'd love to see you. And I'd never been to a group conscience, 7 years. So I went that Wednesday. I hadn't been in that door 3 minutes, and they unanimously voted me in as chairman of the cleanup committee. I mean, I didn't even get a chance to argue. They railroaded me into that job. And I'm not happy. After the meeting was over, it didn't take long. I'm going back into the kitchen, and I looked at the guy who's got that smug grin on his face. Like, look what we did. And he said, buddy, listen, if I'm going to do this, I need a list of the other committee members so I can organize a cleaning rotation. He looked at me and spit coffee clear across the kitchen. He wiped his mouth. He said, Chris, there's no committee. You're the janitor at this group. And he opened a door and showed me where the vacuum cleaner was, and the cleaning supplies were on the floor. And here's the keys. He gave me a key to the club. I mean, guys, I'm in there a month, and it's like, and I stayed away from him a couple of days. I was going to punish him. And on Friday, Myers let me off. He don't even remember doing it, I'm sure, but he let me off about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He wasn't sober yet. And he let me off, and I went down to that club and locked myself in there, and I cleaned that club like a big boy. Guys, I know how to clean. I'm telling you. My wife may disagree, but I know how to clean. And I cleaned that old nasty coffee pots in that bathroom. Looked like an Exxon station in there. And I cleaned all that bathrooms up and got everything tidied up and made some coffee. And it's 5:30, and I'm sitting in there in the room and unlocked the door. It's just, I'm ready. Meeting starts at 6. And the matriarch of the group walks in. I can't not tell it, guys. I knew it was her because I could hear her walk. She's got little slippers, and she slides her feet on that little linoleum. She was about this tall, about 2 feet, maybe 3 feet tall. She's the smallest woman you ever. She looked like a little question mark. She's about 140 years old. I don't know. She just slides in there on the linoleum, and you can, and she's squealing in the kitchen, and she goes around to the bathroom, and she squeals again. And, oh my God. And she comes back around and look in the corner. It's just me and her in there. She said, did you clean this place? And I got my little, I'm sitting there soaking wet. I got my little Fruit of the Loom t-shirt on. Y'all remember those shirts? The Fruit of the Loom t-shirt? Yeah. with a little pocket on it, and you wash them about 1,000 times, and the pocket gradually shrinks and moves around to the center of your shirt. Yeah, so you look like a little kangaroo with your smokes and just yeah. And I'm sitting there all by myself. I got that grin. Yes, ma'am. If I'd have had a tie, I'd have straightened it, you know. And she slides around in the side back behind me, and she puts her little arm around my back, gives me a little back hug, and I can still feel her voice on my cheek. And she said, "Boy, we need you here." I want to cry every time I say it. Guys, I say it again. I didn't try to commit suicide a month earlier because I was squashed drunk. I tried to commit suicide because I felt absolutely useless. I could not make my life work. This little lady gave me the one thing I needed more than anything. Some little positive affirmation that I'm going to be okay. They created a monster. I was a member of that group for 5 years. You couldn't go in that place. I wasn't looking at your face. I was looking at your feet. Hey, turn around and go back out there and wipe them feet off. You know, God, a little bit of a tyrant, you know. But you see, that's what it's about, guys. I'm so grateful that I ended up in a room full of people, old timers and some newcomers in there. It was a big old meeting, but I ended up in a room where there wasn't anybody telling me, not one time did they tell me what I couldn't do. You can't date for a year. You can't do this. You can't do that. Buddy, when it came time for me to start a little business, Myers let me start one at the bindery. They were encouraging. When it came time to date, when I finally found somebody that was sick enough to say yes, okay, rock on. Y'all follow, just God, it drives me crazy. The stuff that I hear out there, you can't do this, you can't do that. It makes us look cultish. You can't chair a meeting for the first year. You can't sponsor anybody. I had a guy stop me in New Orleans one time after a workshop I did and said, "We don't let anybody in New Orleans sponsor until they're 5 years sober." Well, I know a lot of people in New Orleans. I know that's not true. Y'all understand? But where do you get that? On the bottom of page 129, it says, even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards the family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure sobriety than anything else. 129 at the bottom. First days of convalescence, get your butt in there and try to help somebody. And you're going to stay sober. That's exactly what Bill Wilson did. Walking out of the Mayflower Hotel on that second floor in the lobby, you know, the bar at the end of the counter, he knows he's in trouble, knows he's thinking about taking a drink. He says, "I knew I needed another alcoholic as much as that alcoholic could never need me." And he goes and finds Dr. Bob. I mean, good, who knew? And then they go find other alcoholics. It wasn't any of this crap of waiting. Guys, it's our job to teach and sit there and look over their shoulders, make sure they're heading in the right direction. But they're not going to do that sitting on their butt in a meeting, rocking back and forth, marking off a calendar because I went to one more meeting. It's just breathtaking how far away from the message we've gotten in so many areas. I watch my little guys. I got to say this real quick. I got sick a couple of years ago, and I hesitate to say it. I was talking in South Carolina, and I had a bad case of vertigo. I'd never had it before. I thought I was going to die. I crawled around on the floor until I found my phone and called my host, and I had him, and he came and got me like that. And I had him and some other guys sat with me for 2 visits to the emergency room. And then a day later, they got me back to the airport, and I crawled to the airport. Myers and Patty were there to get me. I couldn't drive. And people in AA started checking on me. And guys, I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that it was just glaringly apparent in my face how much my mom used to come to meetings with us, speaker meetings, and she'd leave and she'd say, "Man, I wish we could find that kind of love in our churches." Guys, I'm 37 years sober, and I have never, ever, ever seen the kind of love that we have in Alcoholics Anonymous. People that bent over backwards to help me in my employment, in my work, bent over backwards to help me with my health issues, to Nobody looking the other way. Everybody's just right there trying to help. And I look around my home group at Ingram Solution Group in Ingram, and some of y'all have been there, and at the world famous Outpost Recovery Club. And we got, you know, I'm sitting there watching these little new guys come out of sober livings and sitting there in these meetings, and they're all active. And I bet I've seen it 1,000 times. I'm leaving, closing up because nobody seems to be able to do it the way we do it. And I'm looking over there, and there's one of my guys, little space alien looking guy. Y'all follow this? Just tattoos from head to bottom, just piercings and things in his ears, and he's just like a little alien, looking good and cool as could be. About 2 months sober, and he's over there with a little newcomer. Everybody at the end of our meeting, they says, "Okay, who needs a sponsor?" This little guy raised their hand. "Okay, who's available to sponsor?" Everybody's, you can hear the air mushes. Everybody pushed their hands up. It's a sponsorship group. Everybody had their hands up like this, and I'm cleaning up, looking back over in the corner. That one little guy made a beeline straight for this little alien guy. He didn't want anything I had to say. He didn't want anything Myers had to say. I'm a little offended. I thought what I shared was particularly good tonight. They didn't want anything I got. They wanted that guy right there. And he's over there with a little alien talking, and they're just, yeah. Oh, and by the way, they're both still sober today. And that little guy's sponsoring too. That's what this is about, folks. That's the coolest thing is when somebody asks me a question. I'll end with this, guys. Somebody asked me a question and I don't know the answer. I know people to call. I've called a bunch of y'all on this Zoom right here, asking questions about stuff that I need. Betty, I'm over my head. What do I do with this little guy right here? What do I do? Guys, it takes a village. We're all of us little knuckleheads. That's what we do. Somebody sent this to me my last birthday, and I love the little quote. God didn't add another day to your life because you needed it. He added it because someone needed you. Yeah. The spiritual warfare in your head that tells you can't help anybody because you're not sober long enough, stop listening to that crap. You don't have a clue who you're going to be able to help. You just suit up and show up, and I guarantee you God will show you how to do it. We all have different talents, folks. Some people can do certain things in the groups. Some people are service junkies. I could never do that. I don't have the patience. I'd have to stab people in those meetings. I couldn't do that. Some people can. Bring your talent, whatever it is, to our fellowship. Because I got to tell you, folks, just like that last lady told me, we need you. Thank you so much.